That's how much the Earth would move if I jumped onto it. Anyway, first force diagram, done. Questions to hear before I talk about the rookie mistakes? All right, rookie mistake number 1, no man's land. I have seen this way too many, actually, it's not making more than one mistake there. I have no idea that for a student to do this, I don't know what force is acting on which object. The whole point of this is to identify what forces are acting on which object. I cannot tell. This is what I refer to as no man's land. Rookie mistake number 2. Backwards. You're supposed to draw the force on the object that's receiving the force, not on the object that's creating the force. The box is pulling up on the Earth. Right there, the way I said that, the box is pulling up on the Earth, which means I draw my arrow up on the Earth, up on the Earth. The Earth is pulling down on the box, so I'm going to draw my arrow down on the box. So backwards, rookie mistake number 2. And let's just emphasize, Mr. Yuck. Don't do these. These are mistakes. We'll hit a couple other rookie mistakes, but it's probably good enough for now. Questions?
Can you explain the first mistake?
The first one? The point of the first force diagram are what forces are acting on the box, what forces are acting on the Earth or planet. In this particular case right here, the arrows are drawn in between the 2 objects. One of those is acting on the box, one of them is acting on the Earth, but I can't tell from this which one is the student is intended on which. That's the mistake there. Now, I do try my best. If you had the box right here and like that, and you did it like this, yeah, I think I pretty much got that force is acting on that box. I'm good there. If you drew it so it's like this, yeah, I think I pretty much got what you're going for there, which is pretty much what I did right there. Now we start getting into a little bit of a gray area. I think I know what the student means on this one. Or some color, there we go. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. All right, questions before we do the next exciting installment?
How would the question be worded? Like, would you ask us a question and then we would draw a picture?
There will be, we're not at the test level problem yet. There will be a
Okay.
problem where I set up the scenario and I say,
Draw
on the diagram on the next page, draw the force diagram.
Okay.
We will get to what looks like a test problem.
Okay.
You said this is called a force diagram?
Force diagram. Now, if you were looking at other sources, you might hear a reference to a free body diagram. Free body diagram is very similar. I tend not to do what's called generally considered the free body diagram just because of my engineering background. The free body diagram is going to look like the following. Go back to Dylan. That's the free body diagram. They reduce the object down to a single point and draw the arrows like that. The reason why I don't care for it is that later on, when we get to chapter 8, it's going to make a difference where the force is applied. And so instead of just treating everything like a dot until we get to that and suddenly drawing the full object, I draw the full object to start with. If you get tutoring, Mike has been doing it for a long time. He's familiar with the idiosyncrasies of some of my questions. So the others I just don't know as well. We tutor in physics, but Mike, I know, does it, has been doing this a lot. I assume he's still here. He was here last semester. Oh, no, he is, because I got an email from him where we were talking about last week. That's right, I'm bragging about the people who email me. All right, next exciting installment, box on ground. The first thing I do here is I'm drawing the picture. In case you weren't quite sure what a box on the ground might look like, there's my drawing of a box on the ground. A two-dimensional rendition is fine. So now it becomes a little bit more critical when you are drawing the method of the force diagram, separate the objects. So I'm gonna draw the box here. I'm gonna draw the ground here. I am not claiming the box is in the air. All I've done is I've drawn the box, I've drawn the ground. I recommend putting them in the same orientation. The box is above the ground here. I drew my work box above my work planet in the same orientation. Is there anything we can get rid of?
Friction.
Why?
I just took a wild guess.
You're correct, you can get rid of friction.
It's not moving on the ground,
It's not a matter of not moving.
or
If the ground were frictionless, would the box move? Does it have an inclination? Does it have a desire to move one way or the other?
there's no force.
There's no desired relative motion.
Yeah. There is no desire for relative motion, that's why friction can be eliminated. Now, if you want to play the game of, I got this drawing right here and going, that's at a 1 degree angle, that box would eventually slide. Yeah, I don't play that game. If it looks like I meant to draw it flat, it's probably meant to be flat. If in doubt, ask. But that's supposed to be flat ground. So friction's eliminated. Anything else we can get rid of?
Tension. Tension. Other. I know it's normal because it's two masses touching.
Okay, so did you say normal should be there?
Yes.
Okay, that is true. All right, so let's start out with weight. I feel that weight is the simplest one, so I'm going to start out with weight. When it comes time to you're actually doing a problem on your own, you don't have to. Which way is weight acting on the box?
Both. Both ways. No.
Lou?
Oh, just
Down.
down.
Yeah, it's being pulled towards the planet. So I have a weight here, and I have a weight here. They come in pairs, acting on different objects, acting in opposite directions. Now the normal force. The normal force sometimes is referenced as a support force. It's what keeps one object from going through another. When the box is sitting on the ground, is it falling? It's being pulled downwards, but it's not falling, so there's got to be something to balance that out. So the ground is pushing up on the box, because there's contact that's pushing up on the box, and so there's a normal force acting up on the box, and the box is pushing down on the ground. Right now, I'm leaning against the wall. I have two normal forces acting on me. There's a normal force from the floor pushing me up, pushing up on me, keeping me from falling through the floor. And there's a normal force pushing sideways on me, keeping me from going through the wall. This case, a little less exciting, barely. Okay, rookie mistake number 3. Not giving yourself enough space to actually draw the problem, draw your areas. Questions to hear?
Does where we put the arrows matter? Like you put the normal force for the ground on this side and you put it on this side of the box, does that matter?
Oh, whether those are flipped around or those are
Yeah.
Not really, as long as it's clear which one's acting on which. If we were going to take this and then try to add the vectors graphically, then the length of the arrow will matter, but This is just setting up for what forces are acting on it, so we don't have to worry about that. And the other place where it might make a difference is if we're dealing with some rotational motion, but that's something in chapter 8. Yes, Maya?
Could we draw the, like, I see how you drew the box above, but could we draw it on the ground and then put our arrows on top of the box for the box and then below the ground?
Yes, you could. I don't recommend it because I'm just picturing, even though you might nail it perfectly, I don't want someone else to hear, oh, we don't actually have to separate them, and then I get this mess. So just as long as you're careful and it's clear which arrow is acting on which object, I'm good. Okay. The next exciting installment. Oh. You won't believe we're gonna do it, but we are. Box on ground. And this one actually has an actual application. So draw the picture. Oh. Box on the ground. Box A and box B. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my objects separately. That's A, that's B, and that's the ground. Put my checklist. All right, can we get rid of anything?
FTOW,
So, get rid of.
FTO.
All right, no friction because they are all supposed to be levels, not supposed to be sliding anyway. So that's gone, there's no rope, and I didn't mention anything, any other hand of God. So we have weight and normal force. Weight acting on which object in which direction?
Box A going down.
Okay, draw it on A going down. Comes in pairs, where's the other part of that pair?
B going down.
All right, we have parts of two different pairs.
B going up, B going up,
So B is pulling down on A.
yeah. Yeah.
So if B suddenly disappeared, A would float. If you're saying B is pulling down on A, that means if B suddenly disappeared, A would fall.
So when you the ground was both.
Weight is caused by the ground, not caused by the other object. So there's two of them. There is a mistake here, it doesn't require any erasing, we're gonna have to add something, but there is a problem here. What is wrong with what I've drawn up here so far?
There's two weights coming from the ground.
So what do you mean by that? What's the problem?
You don't need to label two of them, right? Like two,
Oh, I only need one weight down here? Is that what you're saying?
so I thought I was saying, but now I'm saying it doesn't make sense.
You have seen the ballpark, but you haven't decided whether to go in or not.
So, okay.
I'm still gonna draw two arrows on the ground going up, like that. That is not the issue.
The issue's already written out.
The issue, there's something missing from this.
It's missing.
Yeah, from the weight arrows that we have.
Is B supposed to go, is B supposed to arrow up to A?
No, the arrows are drawn in the correct direction. What?
That's what I was gonna
Okay.
say.
I have two boxes here. I've given you no additional information other than the fact that they're boxes and A is on D, which is on the ground. Do they weigh the same thing? We don't know. We cannot assume that they weigh the same thing. But we have labeled them the same. we need to differentiate this weight from this weight. Personally, I like, if I'm gonna add a subscript, I like subscripts that have something to do with the object. This is object A, so I'm just gonna put a little subscript A there. And it doesn't matter, one of these is A, and then I'm gonna put a B here, and put a little B there. Probably the biggest mistake I see, even at the test, is people not putting subscripts when I have more than one. If I have more than one weight, I need more than one weight pair, I need subscripts. More than one normal force pair, I need subscripts. All right, normal force requires two objects touching each other. What objects are touching?
Two boxes and the bottom box on the ground.
Okay, so I'm gonna have a normal force pair between these two and a normal force pair between these two. Well, is B pushing up on A or pulling down on A? If it's pulling down on A, then I have two forces acting down on A, which sounds like A is plummeting to the ground. Let's assume B is not braking. Even if it were, that would still be the wrong direction. B is holding A up. So there is a normal force on A from B. It's pushing up. But it comes in pairs. Where's the other part of that pair? There's got to be a down normal force acting on something.
It's acting on B.
Yeah. Yep, sorry, wrong. They are the same magnitude, so I have the same both y sub A.
So they're both A.
They're both A. And then I've got another pair that Juan mentioned that there's going to be another pair between ground and B. So the ground is holding B up, and B is pushing down on the ground. When you were walking through the snow and you saw your footprints behind you, that was the force right there that was causing the footprints. All right, questions before we do person on scale? All right. So I'm going to draw a little picture here. We'll just assume that I have a scale on the ground and a person standing on it. Force diagram, I'm going to draw the person, draw the scale, draw the ground. The force diagram is going to look similar to that. I'm going to use slightly different subscripts. I've got W sub P for person, W sub P, W sub S, W, not a Y, W sub Y, sub S for the scale, W sub S. I've got a normal force acting up on the person, normal force pushing down on the scale there, and then I've got from the ground, Y sub S, Y sub S. Now, when I do my labels, I label generally from the top going down, so that's why this is P, this is S. Some students will do it the other way around. They'll label these as Y sub G and these as Y sub S. That's fine, just so long as the same, those two have the same symbol, those two have the same. All right, so here's the question. When I'm standing on a scale, measuring my weight, what is the scale actually measuring?
So the difference.
Between, what does the scale, if I'm standing on a scale, what does the scale measure?
The amount of force you're pushing down on it.
What force is that?
Weight?
There is no weight coming from the person acting on the scale. What force am I exerting on the scale? You were right with that part, it's not the right part anymore. Yeah, a scale actually is measuring that. If I'm bouncing on an analog scale, if you haven't done it, you should. Sorry, I find my amusements in the smallest places. The dial will go back and forth. If I'm bouncing on a scale, I don't weigh 400 pounds and I weigh 50 pounds, and 400 pounds and then 50 pounds. My weight's not changing just because I'm bouncing on a scale. The normal force is what the scale actually measures, that normal force right there. Now, if I am perfectly still standing on the scale, so I am at rest and not accelerating, which is more important. If I am not accelerating, standing on a scale, then the normal force and the weight are equal. But if I'm bouncing, if my acceleration is not zero, these are not equal. But the scale doesn't look at it and go, yeah, I know you're bouncing, so I'm really gonna tell you the gravitational pull. No, scales don't do that. So scales do not actually measure weight, they measure normal force. There are certain situations when the normal force and the weight are equal in magnitude, but not necessarily. For those who are younger siblings and an older sibling, not too much older, but was bigger, maybe this was just my own childhood, but if your older sibling is on top of you, you are not feeling his weight. You're feeling the normal force. That's why when he bounced on top of you, it hurt more. His weight wasn't changing, just the normal force. Anyone been through that? Or am I just talking to a bunch of older siblings who did it to others? I got a couple of younger siblings here. All right. Anyway. Have a wonderful day. I will see you Thursday. Oh, before Thursday, please print out the lab. The second lab is equilibrium. If it's not available, someone send me a quick email so that I can make it available. But the equilibrium lab is this Thursday. Please have it printed out before you come in. And don't forget to bring it in. If you have printer issues, we'll deal with that